Welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, and today I'm talking about the usage of tarot in the online card game Balatro. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. The best way to support the podcast right now is to listen daily, rate, review, and to follow or subscribe in your chosen podcast app. The next best way is to check out my Patreon at patreon.com/everydaytarot. I just added some new benefits, so if you join at the lovers level, you get the ability to ask tarot-related questions, and I'll answer them on the podcast, and you'll be individually thanked by name on the podcast when you join that tier. And if you join the Witch Bitch level, you'll get the opportunity to get an individual tarot reading live on the podcast. The link is in the show notes if you want to check out the Patreon. And you can always go to my website, CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot for all the latest information related to the podcast and to find images of the cards that I pull. If you're local to the greater Puget Sound area, I'd love to see you at one of my Let's Talk Tarot meetup group events, where we all bring some of our favorite decks and play around with tarot and oracle cards together. Our next meetup is on March 10th at 5 p.m. at Township 20 in Sumner. You can use the meetup link to check out details on this upcoming event. So, we're into season 4 of the podcast. In the first season, I introduced tarot through talking about oracle versus tarot cards, myths of tarot, how to find a deck, reading for yourself versus others, and much more. In season 2 and 3, I went through the Major Arcana and the 4 suits, one per episode. And in this season, I'm talking all about tarot in pop culture. And today I'm talking about the usage of tarot in the online card game Balatro. So if you haven't heard of this, Balatro is a rogue-light poker game packed full of occult symbolism and tarot cards. It utilizes all the cards in the Major Arcana as well as the traditional card deck, I would say. So not the suits as we know them in tarot, but spades, hearts, diamonds. What's the one I'm missing? Clubs. And it's a poker-inspired game. It's a roguelike deck builder. And it's all about like combining poker hands with unique joker cards in order to create different builds. And then when you earn enough chips, you can try to beat blinds. And as you're doing that, you're trying to uncover hidden like bonus hands and decks as you progress. So it's sort of like you play normal poker and then you get to add on these jokers and the Major Arcana tarot cards as different ways to sort of like progress in the game. So like I said, all of the Major Arcana cards are shown in Balatro. From what I can gather, I would say that it's maybe like a 3 out of 10 if we're going on the like tarot authenticity or sort of showcasing the cards in a way that is authentic to how I think of the tarot cards. So loosely inspired, I would say. So for example, like it is based on the Rider-Waite tarot deck. So some interesting ones were like the Wheel of Fortune card. You get a 1 in 4 chance to add a foil, a holographic, a polychrome to a random joker. So sort of like in my understanding of the Wheel of Fortune card, it is this like, okay, you get a chance to sort of level up your cards, but you're not quite sure what you're going to get. There are some different elements. They like show cards. They're sort of like pixelated cards. So it sort of like fits this video game aesthetic where you get the cards and there's sort of, I was going to say, like again, like the Lover's card shows 2 people. There's not like an angel on it like there often is, or like the Empress card shows like someone sitting down with like a scepter and they turn it into a staff, or the Justice card and the Strength card are swapped in there. So the Justice one and this is 8 and Strength is 11. And if you listen to my Major Arcana season, you'll know that depending on what inspiration the tarot deck is coming from, whether it's the Rider-Waite Smith or the sort of traditional before that came out. Strength and justice are often swapped. So that's not that strange. That happens in a lot of decks. I have decks that have them swapped as well, even though of my 6 decks that have them swapped. So I'll go through some of the cards and kind of what they do in the game. And again, this isn't a game I play, so I'm not super familiar. My boyfriend Sean plays it a lot, so I did ask him some questions. And then I actually watched, let me find their name, but they are pathandtarot.com, and they have a YouTube video where they play Balatro for the first time. And then they actually like use one of their like poker draws in the game and do a tarot reading like based off of the cards in the game, which is kind of cool. And I guess they like review games that have tarot cards in them, or like they're into the occult, stuff like that. And that's again the Path and Tarot. Trying to find their name. Let me see if I can find it there. But I'll put the link in the show notes or in the description if you want to go watch that video where you can watch them play Balatro. It's like a 30-minute video. I didn't watch all of it, but I watched the part where they did like a tarot reading, which was kind of fun. So that's sort of like combining, again, like the original game and then like their understanding of the tarot. So some of the cards that I'll talk about that kind of have loose meanings to how I understand them would be the High Priestess. And someone detailed all these out on Reddit, so I'll also post the link to that if you want to check them out. But they talk about the High Priestess in the game, right, which we think of like mysteries, spiritual insight, sort of like a leader. They in the game, there's these celestial cards, and that they have this like mystical astrological vibe to them in the game, and they use the power of the cosmos to enhance your deck. For example, the Lovers card, they talk about that it represents, right, often like relationships, not necessarily romantic ones, but any kind of relationships and sort of like duality or balance. And the Lovers in the game is considered a wild card, and it allows the card to relate to all 4 suits instead of just one. So they're sort of, again, they're using it sort of this like relational card in the game. The Hermit, which we think of representing introspection, looking inward. Again, that's sort of like withdrawal from society to go learn and study, often like portrayed out like in the woods or in nature, and then coming back and kind of sharing what you understand. So in Balatro, they talk about that the Hermit is looking inward at the money you already have and multiplying that instead of doing anything with your deck or jokers. There is the sort of like inward looking and sort of figuring out maybe like from the tools that you already have instead of buying. Because when you win the poker like rounds, you get coins, and then you can use your coins to buy these jokers or other decks, and the decks have tarot cards in them. So it kind of allows you to move forward in the game. So the Wheel of Fortune in the game, like I said, it sort of, right, like it represents chance, change of status. You're not really sure like what it's going to be, like sort of good or bad. And in the game, it has a chance to change the status of your jokers. And again, the jokers are a really important card in Balatro, so that's relevant. The Hanged Man we think of as like surrender, letting go, right? They're often depicted hanging upside down by their foot in a way that sort of looks like they might have put themselves there on purpose, or that they could potentially get out of it if they wanted to. And the Hanged Man card in Balatro allows you to let go of cards. So again, we're sort of some loose like relevance or similarities there. The Death card, which we think of as like a card of transformation, right? Profound change. Not necessarily like literal death, but like the moment of transformation. And this card in Balatro allows you to change a card. The Devil we think of as sort of sometimes like temptation or yeah, which again is not always this like inherently evil or bad thing, but sort of like different avenues to go down, and what is your choice? And again, the devil card is often depicted as like sometimes it shows like a symbol of the devil, which could be like Baphomet, like the goat, or sometimes the more like satanic, like Christian devil is portrayed. And often it shows like two people chained to the devil, but it kind of looks like they could, like, sometimes it's around their necks, but it almost looks like they could take it off of themselves. Um, and so it's sort of like, what are you chaining yourself to? And is that really like what you want to be doing? So in Balatro, it's a little confusing there, but it puts a brick of mammon in your deck that attempts you to try to play two pair instead of a full house. Again, this is poker, so speaking in those terms. And then maybe you'll get like extra money at the end of the round. So it's sort of like a risky move in the game. Like you're trying to see, like, okay, like maybe, yeah, like I'm going to take this risk and see if it pays off. Maybe it will. You'll get extra coins at the end of the round. The tower we think of as, right, it's often it looks like a literal tower. Sometimes there's people falling out of it. Sometimes it's more of a metaphorical tower. In in the Anima Mundi deck, it's depicted as Mount St. Helens as it's erupting. So destruction, calamity, sort of like sometimes like chaos. And in Balatro, it's considered a stone card, and they have like their suit and rank wiped away and replaced with rubble in the game. So again, sort of like, okay, it's kind of like destruction, it's changed form. Um, and then the last ones I'm going to talk about are the star, the moon, the sun, and the world, which are the last four cards in the Major Arcana, if you're going like numerically. And they form a series, and all four refer to a celestial body in the game, and all four change the suit of the three cards. So they're sort of, again, like sort of this representation of the four suits. And yeah, right, stars, moon, sun, and world, like those are all things in our solar system, the celestial bodies. So that's sort of like the similarities there. Let me see if there's anything else that I think is interesting. So yeah, for sort of our meanings or lessons learned, like I don't think there's like a whole lot. I tried to look into like what people think about Balatro and their tarot cards in it. And that's where I found like the Reddit article where someone sort of like pulled the similarities together. But I would say it's a pretty like loose similarity to the tarot cards. It seems to use them and sort of like allow them to like level up your gameplay. They're very visual, and the game is very visual, so I do feel like that's part of it that they're pulling in. I couldn't find anything about like the creators of it. I all that like if they were into the occult or into tarot or anything like that. Seems more like they were into like gamifying poker in an online way and allowing people to like play it a lot and progress. And these tarot, it's almost like if you were ever into like Pokemon or anything like that, that like when you would go to the store, you could buy like an additional, I can't remember what they were called, but like an additional deck, and you could add it like to your normal hand or whatever cards you already had, and you wouldn't know what you were going to get. Right? Like you might already have all those cards, or you might get new ones, and some of them might be really good and some not. So you would trade with people. It kind of seems like they use tarot in this game to be sort of like that, as like, okay, like I'm going to use these coins to buy different like additional decks, and they sort of are using the tarot and the visuals of it as a way to just kind of add on to this like poker game that's online that's very popular. A lot of people really like it, and I think get a little obsessive about it because it does really like encourage you to just keep playing, and it's not just like if you play solitaire or something and like that the game is over quickly or that like then you're done. It's like this way where you can like progress in levels in addition to playing poker. And again, if anyone already plays this, they might think that this, I don't have a great description of it. I haven't played it. But from what I understand, that's sort of how it is. Like, it can really suck you in because it's like playing poker, but with sort of this element of like, oh, if I just keep playing, like maybe I can unlock all the levels and get all the way to the end. So let's dive in. So yeah, I said like it's maybe like a 3 out of 10 authentic to tarot as I know it. If 10 out of 10 is like the best portrayal and like 1 out of 10 is like, not great. I think I said Agatha all along was about a 9 out of 10. Chilling Adventures of Sabrina was maybe more like a 7. This seems more like a 3 out of 10 to me. So let's dive in and see what the cards have to say today. All right, and since I referenced it earlier, I'm going to be pulling from the Anima Mundi deck by Megan Weirer-Wenden. All right, and I pulled the King of Wands reversed. So it shows a wand on the card, and then there's a coyote. And the deck description says, a natural-born leader and a visionary who can change the world. The King of Wands is focused on their goals, goes about his life with ambition and intent. Be assertive, grab life by the horns, and take control. So upright, it's about action, leadership, vision, charisma, and boldness. And reversed, which is how it did show up, it's more about impulsiveness, pushiness, aggression, and unrealistic expectations. So it's kind of, I don't know, the unrealistic expectations is interesting just as I think when I had heard about this game Balatro that had like these tarot cards in it, I was very intrigued. And then I feel like when I kind of got into it, I was like, okay, like it's not that great. Like it's not super exciting to me, or like it's a pretty loose like resemblance to the tarot as I understand them. So possibly that's what this is about. But maybe if there's anywhere in your life where you're feeling like impulsive or feeling like you're really wanting something to happen or pushing it, sounds like this card's telling us to slow it down a little bit. Like maybe it doesn't need to happen today. Maybe we need to take a little extra rest today. And instead of being aggressive about it, you have your action and leadership in the upright position, have the vision, but maybe don't try to just like execute it blindly today. As maybe that's not really what we're supposed to be doing today. All right, so links for the tarot deck that I talk about will always be in the show notes and on my website if you'd like to look at them or find where to purchase them. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.